Hey guys, I'm back. I don't know if a lot of you saw, but last week me and my husband moved, so it was a little bit hectic, a little bit crazy. Um, I didn't have my office set up, I didn't have anything set up, things were in boxes, so now we're finally getting settled in, things are unpacked, we're getting organized, and now we get to start setting up the nursery, which is super exciting. Um, but I want to spend a few minutes just going over something that I've really been passionate about, that's really been on my mind, and I really want to share with you guys because I've still been working, I've still been receiving a lot of messages from you, and I want to clear some stuff up and help you guys out. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Kimberly Mulcahy. I am an online health coach. Um, specifically I specifically work with a lot of clients that have hypothyroidism and want to combat back against that naturally and finally show their body who's boss. I'm a lady boss mentor, and I help women strategically build online businesses and just rock it in the online space. And like I said, I'm expecting in October, so that's super exciting. First baby girl, we're going to be setting up the nursery here this weekend, hopefully, and get some more things ready to go since the time is getting a little bit closer. So thanks for jumping on. So as you saw in my title, the thing that I wanted to talk to you about today is the number one thing that absolutely, without a doubt, has to go if you're struggling with thyroid issues. And before you jump off and say, I can't do that, there's no way, don't freak out, I really want you to hear me out and listen to what I have to say. And I tell my clients this all the time. Without a doubt, the number one thing that has to go is gluten. And you may have heard me talk about this a little bit before, but gluten is the devil, seriously, especially for those of you who are struggling with Hashimoto's, adrenal fatigue, hypothyroidism, any sort of autoimmune. Gluten is a culprit of so many different things. I'm going to tell you why. So a lot of us like to think that our bodies can be fixed in pieces. So we especially, and even not in just nutrition, but in exercise as well. We want to spot train, we want to tweak this, we want to tweak that. We don't like our thighs, so let's, work on our thighs a little bit more. Our arms, our belly, so on and so forth. We want to heal our our ankle or our lower back problems. We want to heal just our thyroid. And what you have to think about is that it doesn't work that way. We have to start healing as a whole. And your body truly, truly wants to work with you, and it wants to do what it's supposed to do. You just really have to help it out. You have to meet it halfway, and you have to give it the tools to be able to do that. And one thing that's interesting about gluten is when I've done a lot of research on gluten, one thing that I found really interesting was that gluten, way back in the day, way back in our ancestral days, when our grandmothers, were growing up, when a lot of them used to harvest their own food, there was one strand of gluten. That's it. And now things have been they have been modified, they have been developed, so to speak, to where there are anywhere between over 40 different strands of gluten. And that's pretty astonishing, and there's no wonder that so many of us have so many issues with our health, and a lot of it stems from gluten because it's hidden in so many different things, and your body can't recognize it the way that it used to. And that's why gluten is such a hot topic these days, is because your body truly can't process it. And there's the proteins that are in gluten break down your gut lining, your intestinal lining, and since your body works as a whole, when you're eating gluten and it breaks down that lining, it's stripping it away, and all the toxins that you're ingesting, that you're breathing, that you get from cleaning your house, the air that you breathe, the foods that you eat, just our bodies in general are leaking out, and its ability And the ability is that they're leaking into your bloodstream. And that's crazy, right? If your gut is what carries out all these toxins that we ingest throughout the day, throughout the years, throughout our life, if our gut is what carries those things out of our bodies, if your gut is leaking because it's become too thin from ingesting gluten, what are carrying those things out? Nothing, right? That's crazy. So if you're taking hormones, if you're taking supplements and vitamins and medications with gluten, they're leaking out and they're not working, and you're getting super frustrated. You're basically fueling the fire at that point. And I talk to women all day long that say, I've taken thyroid medicine for over, a couple years now, and my doctor keeps upping my dosage. That's a huge reason why, is because all the healing starts in your gut. You can't spot heal. So you literally are taking medication that's not working, and that's frustrating, right? Gluten hides in all sorts of stuff like soy sauce, supplements, like I said, dressings, and protein. And since it is a protein, it's added into other protein things that we eat, like protein drinks, protein bars. I used to be a huge bar person. And so you really have to be aware of what you're ingesting and what you're eating, because if it's not from the right sources, or if it somehow contains any strand, 40 some strands of gluten, you're doing damage to your health. So, and you're not healing, right? So truly, everything does start in your gut. And there's a brain-gut correlation and connection, and that's something for a different topic. But when you allow your gut lining to break down by gluten, it also causes things like inflammation, which also leads to food sensitivities and immunity issues, where you develop greater autoimmune, diseases or struggles or what have you. And that's the reason why gluten has got to go. It's got to be the number one thing that goes out of your diet and out of your life for long-term healing. Your bodies are processing it like, it's trying to process it, and it's not. And that's why you end up leaving miserable with all these food sensitivities, and you can't figure out why. You can't figure out the true source. You can't figure out the true culprit. And again, that leads to that autoimmunity, where your body starts pushing back. It starts rejecting things. That's a huge thing that I struggled with in my diagnosis and my journey, is that I would be scared to eat a handful of raw almonds, which of course, are not the best thing for thyroid. It would give me super bad indigestion and heartburn, and I was like, what can I freaking eat that's not gonna make my stomach upset, or what's not gonna make me feel like crap that day? And it was beginning to become a real struggle for me. So I really had to dive in and do a lot of research on what could actually heal my body. And if you get rid of the things that are causing these symptoms and get rid of gluten, your symptoms will start to alleviate. Now, they won't go away, because those symptoms take a long time to go away. It's a process. But the clients that I work with, taking out gluten, they see some quick success in their symptoms, alleviating and starting to reduce a little bit. They start to feel normal again. And it's just by that number one thing is gluten. So that's why it's so important. And gluten actually stays in your system for up to 6 months, which is, to me, astonishing. If you continue to have gluten here and there, and not put your head down and not fully commit, then chances are those symptoms are going to start creeping back in. So, you need to give your gut time to heal, your body time to heal, and so that it can start repairing that lining that took so long to strip away, and so that it can combat against all those toxins and push them out of your body and not into your bloodstream. If you're allowing those toxins to be pushed out of your body, then, hold on, my connection is like getting weird. Okay, so if you're allowing those toxins to just be floating around and they're not pushed out, where are they stored? You know, they've got to be stored somewhere if they're just floating around endlessly in your body. So where do you think they're stored? Something called fat cells. So that's a huge another thing that is associated with hypothyroidism that leaves so many of us frustrated, is these toxins are leading to fat storage. And the more toxins that you have, the more fat cells are needed to store them. And no one can actually gain more fat cells. You're kind of like born with the amount of fat cells in your body, but it's the amount of stuff that they retain. So those fat cells are storing these toxins, and they're gradually expanding and they're gradually getting bigger to hold and store these toxins that they just can't get rid of because of the things that we're eating, specifically gluten. So eventually, if you're not taking care of your gut, those toxins that we want to and we need to get rid of start to take up residency in our body. And it's almost like they're saying, hey girl, I need a place to stay. I need a place to just hang out. So I'm just going to go ahead and store myself right on your butt, right on your hips. And I'm going to stay there because I've got nowhere else to go. Frustrating, right? Another example would be maybe if you're taking birth control and still eating gluten. Birth control's already thought of to kind of aid in gaining weight, or if you gain weight easily and you don't take the right birth control, then you end up gaining some pounds that you don't want. But that's not necessarily true, because it could be that you're still eating gluten and those toxins aren't getting carried out and are floating around in our bloodstream, and guess what? Weight gain happens, and weight gain's coming for you. So and it stores right in your tummy area, right in the gut, again, because gut is linked, so it all makes sense, right? And that's not ideal. Again, I talk to so many women that tell me, well, I need to tone up my tummy, or I need to get rid of excess fat in my stomach area. I've had kids, it's my stubborn area, what can I do? This is a really good thing that you can do, is to take out gluten. So that we can reduce that inflammation and get those toxins flowing outward where they should be going anyway. And scientists and researchers are actually pushing doctors to go more of a gluten-free approach when diagnosing certain autoimmune, certain thyroid, anything to do with Hashimoto's. All those things are self-explanatory, but also things like diabetes. You hear somebody that has diabetes and they immediately say that they're on a diabetic diet or a diabetic diet plan, right? Now, not all doctors are practicing this, not all doctors are doing this yet, but it's suggested to them. So over time, my hope and what my thinking is that they will start to take this approach more and more and be more accepting and look at a gluten-free diet as being super beneficial from the start. So just know this, everything starts in your gut. You can't treat just your thyroid. You can't treat just your gut. You can't treat just, some arm pain. You can't just treat your thyroid, and that's something that a lot of us struggle with, is because you have a thyroid issue, or you have these thyroid symptoms, and all you want to do is fix it. And you can't, because you have to treat your body as a whole and start healing everything. So, if you're trying to just treat your thyroid, that's a lot of reasons why your meds aren't working. Like I mentioned before, you need to treat your body as a whole, start healing your gut so that those meds aren't seeping out, leaking out into your bloodstream, and aren't being absorbed properly by your intestinal lining, just like nutrients would be from food, to where they actually are benefiting you and actually working. So ways to take care of your gut, like 3 easy ways, is obviously take gluten out like ASAP, like take it out now. Eat easily digested food, and then give your body time to heal. You know, again, this is a process, and I say that like super slow and to let you know that it's a process. You know, you can't do something for, 2 weeks and expect like a change. You can't do something for, 2 or 3 months or maybe even 6 months and be expected to heal completely. You've really got to put your head down and you've got to stick with it. And just be patient and trust the process, that you are going to still have ups and downs, but your body's healing. It's doing everything it can to catch back up and repair over the years of damage that we've done to it. For me, it took me, a little over a year. Sometimes it takes people a little bit longer. I was somewhere in between that 2-year mark of just really being consistent and really being diligent in what I was doing. And that's what I teach a lot of my clients with, is that I give them the tools to be able to combat all those struggles along the way. And, there's a huge difference between eating clean and eating for thyroid and gut health. So, if you need a starter guide or you need some help, like just getting started, I have a guide. I have a free guide that I give to anyone who wants it. It's a starter guide that you can get by going to, if you're watching me on Facebook, you can click the sign up button at the top and just put in your email, and then you can download my guide for free. Or you can type it into your URL. If you go to tinyurl.com/Kimberly News, you'll see a page where you can put your email in, and again, it'll be sent to you and you'll download it for free. And I created this guide as if my best friend came to me and said, hey, I think I'm struggling with some thyroid issues. I'm having some crazy symptoms that just aren't right. What do you suggest like I do right now? Or what can I do to start? That guide's for you. So feel free to go get that if you want. And funny thing is that before my diagnosis, I was eating, like I said, so many of the wrong things. I was eating broccoli and kale and almonds, just lean meats. No, I would stay away from fat just because. And, I eat an assortment of all these veggies, and I was eating a lot of everything that wasn't right for thyroid. So there is a big difference between the way your body responds and what your body needs to give you energy and fuel your body for thyroid health and gut health versus just eating clean in general. So just to, let's see how many of you are in here. I wanted to see, do you guys have any questions or anything like that for those of you who are on here? I'll give you a second and then I'll do a quick recap. No? Okay. So just to recap, just a quick overview is that you have to treat your body as a whole. You can't spot heal. Gluten breaks down the intestinal lining. Leaky gut happens when you're continuing to eat gluten, and those toxins are floating around in the bloodstream and just hanging out, eventually leading to fat storage. And if you don't get your gut right, if you don't heal it right, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what else you eat, what else you do for exercise, what else you do. It's not going to work because your body can't get rid of those toxins and fully heal itself. So I really hope that this explains a little bit more about why gluten and taking gluten out of your diet is so, so important. Again, if you have any questions, like later on, leave them below. I would love to hear from you. I would love to answer those for you. Again, you can get my free starter guide if you'd like. And then you can also share this video or tag a friend that, maybe this message would help them out, or, just be helpful in their journey. Feel free to do that as well. But that's really it. That's all I have for you today. I really appreciate you hopping on and hanging out with me. And I will see you Thanks, Nicole. Thanks for hopping on with us. And again, if you have any questions or if you want to reach out to me privately, feel free to. I'm here for you guys. I want to provide you with really great information and try to help you get on the right track and fight back against all your struggles. So thanks for jumping on, and I will talk to you soon. I'm going to try and do a couple more videos this week, so be on the lookout. Talk to you soon.